created the ultimate game to ensure there were no more wars, especially those suck-ass rad wars.
They weren't rad, they were bad.
Thanks to the game, we can all live forever in peace, unless you're one of those poor suckers who die in the arena.
I'm gonna knock that ball's in the dirt.
But even they'll be okay in the end, especially those ultimate losers, the Leptons.
If you put as much effort into practicing as you do goofing off, we might actually have a chance out there.
So Ballmasters is pretty dumb. It's got your typical Adult Swim humor where potty, sex, and drugs all equal humor. It comes at you lightning fast. It never gives you a second to breathe. And I kinda like it. Yeah, it's a really weird show. It's got that typical Adult Swim cheap looking animation, but unlike its other shows, it actually looks like there's a lot of effort put into it, even with the shoestring budget that they have. Every second on screen, something's moving, something's jumping out at you, and it's really sporadic, but it kinda works. I mean, sometimes the animation budget is an issue, like when they have to animate large crowds and they're just basically moving around cutouts on a screen, but most of the time I was pretty entertained by the visuals of the show. But more on that in a bit. Basically, the premise of the show is just the ex-best player in the Ballmasters League is trying to turn the worst players into winners. If she can turn them into winners, then she can go back to being at the top of the Ballmaster world. Most of the characters that we follow are pretty entertaining. I mean, they're mostly stereotypes, but I feel like that's the point of Ballmasters. Ballmasters is basically what would happen if if Adult Swim tried to make their own anime. If you don't believe me, just look at our underdog team. We've got the boy that tries hard, the tsundere, the guy who sacrificed all his body parts so he could have insane power and techniques, and a disgraced master that's supposed to whip them into shape. I know there's more on their team, but honestly I don't really remember much about them. That doesn't convince you that Adult Swim just tried to make their own anime. There's plenty of references to anime like magical girls, schoolgirls, giant robots, mechs, and all other kinds of goodies. Hell, the main character even gets ass-pull plot armor in the end of one of the episodes. Honestly, I think you should give Ballmasters a watch. I mean, it's not perfect. It's still got the same issues as most Adult Swim shows, like annoying voice acting and trying to cram way too much into a 15-minute runtime. But it's honestly got a lot of attention and detail and honestly a lot of love that you can really tell that the animators and the staff put into this show. Also, the show is a breath of fresh air when you really think about the adult animation market. Most adult animation these days just focus on family life or nihilism. This show doesn't seem to have any of that. It just seems concerned with having a good time. And while I do love American Dad and tolerate The Simpsons and Family Guy, do we really need another comedy show centered around a family in a bland 2D art style? Or do we need new, fresh ideas that borrow from other sources but still feel like their own thing? It's a 6 out of 10. It needs improvement, but it's worth a watch.
You ding-dongs are hopeless. I'm hitting the ball.
Straight from the balls of Christy Caracas comes
Ballmaster.
Ooh, Master. Premiering Sunday, April 8th at midnight.
You gotta give the people what they want. People want balls. Out.